Oh, damn. Actually, I gotta change my grade. I gotta change my grade right here. Hold on. Last year's Cincinnati Bengals had one glaring weakness. Obviously, I'm talking about the offensive line. There were also questions about at least one of our corners. And while Eli Apple actually put 7 or 8 really strong games together in the back half of the season, including the playoffs when it mattered most, the team wasn't fully comfortable with just going into the season with Eli as the CB2. So in a season where we came just short of winning the Super Bowl, the Bengals did attack both of their main needs in the offseason. But despite that, the offseason up to this point, in my humble opinion, it definitely hasn't been flawless. So what did they do wrong? And how does that affect the overall offseason grade? Today we'll be answering those questions and more. So without further ado, you already know what time it is, fellas. Cue the Wayne.
Yeah, you'll never know quitter, 'cause I'ma go get her.
Alright, real quick before we jump in, a quick word from today's video sponsor, SeatGeek. So live events are back, and that means you can get $20 off at SeatGeek with promo code FlemLo. Been a while since I talked about them here on the channel, but SeatGeek is a ticketing app that basically makes buying tickets extremely simple. I still got the app here on my phone, and it's one of the easiest ways to buy tickets. We talking football games, baseball, basketball, even festivals and concerts. SeatGeek puts tickets together from all over the web into one place, making buying extremely simple. And they want to make sure you're getting a good deal, so look for the green dots. Green means good deal, red means bad. Easy enough, you got it. Plus, you know I got you covered. So use code FlemLo for $20 off at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase when you use promo code FlemLo. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app. Shout out to SeatGeek once again for sponsoring the video, and without further ado, let's get it. So the Bengals addressed their two biggest weaknesses in the offseason, and I think they do a pretty good job at it. We're not just talking replacements, we're talking upgrades. We add right tackle La'el Collins, guard Alex Kappa, and versatile guard/center Ted Karras. 3 brand new starters on the offensive line, and again, massive upgrades from the guys we had playing in those spots last season. Jonah Williams, the Bengals' first-round pick in 2019, just got his 5th-year option picked up, and the only question mark we have left on the offensive line is the right guard position, since last year's 2nd-round pick Jackson Carman had somewhat of an up and down season, did show flashes, but you know, the jury's still out. But with that said, the line on paper at least has gone from a bottom 5 offensive line to an above average one, at least top 15, if not better than that. But let's just go with top 15, right? I don't think everybody realizes how huge of a deal this is gonna be for the Cincinnati Bengals offense. The fact that we were able to just decently function last year and make it all the way to the Super Bowl, that's the most miraculous thing about that run. People like to say, oh, this miracle run, all that. The most miraculous thing is that we were able to do it despite our offensive line. Just bringing that one unit up to average, I think people are going to start to see the true potential of our offense. I believe we've really only scratched the surface. Within the first minute of free agency, we announced one of these signings, shortly after announced another, and then we had to really court La'el Collins, man. He was in Cincinnati forever. There was rumors that he was supposed to go to Miami for a visit after us, but you know, I have to give the Bengals organization and the players like Joe Burrow and company credit, bro. And the fans too. They just kept this man in Cincinnati. People was finding him at the mall, going up to him. He said people was recruiting him on a plane on the way there, you know what I'm saying? Just really letting them know that, you know, if no fan base appreciate offensive line play, I promise you, after the last 2 years that we've been through, Bengals fans will appreciate. If you an offensive lineman, we will appreciate you if you good. But that's the type of deal that in the past the Bengals may have gotten close on, but you know, would have been unable to close that deal. This year, not only do we close the deal, we get a pretty team-friendly contract. We don't have to overpay. We're able to get the structure that the Bengals like, and we have potentially a star right tackle who is happy to be there. But there is one underrated improvement that I believe we're gonna see this year, you know, thanks to the new offensive line, and that is Zach Taylor's play calling. I think Zach has gotten better every year, and I've said I'm on board with Zach because I saw him as a coach with a B+ potential but who was currently, probably, I said this at the beginning of last season or maybe 2 years ago, he was probably at a C. He's probably a C coach with a B plus potential. And every year he has improved. This year he might actually hit that B plus. He might actually hit it. And the reason I say is because you have to understand this man is coaching in the best football league in the world with a massive handicap every game. Okay, so you can't just go in and call everything he wants to call, because even simple plays, like basic stuff that you should be able to establish as an offense against certain teams and certain matchups, we were unable to do any of it. It'll just get blown up in the backfield. So you going into every game with a shrunken down game plan, and he managed to make it work well enough to the point where we was able to get all the way to the Super Bowl. I know I always pull these NCAA examples, but it's just one of the things I think about all the time when making these comparisons. But if you've ever truly started a dynasty with a 1-star team on some real sliders, not no BS little easy sliders, on some real sliders on Heisman, and then you go and play any school in the SEC, you're gonna notice real quick, you can't just call everything in the playbook that you was calling the week before against FCS. You're gonna have a very small amount of plays that are actually gonna not get blown up. Like, not just not work, but you're gonna actively lose yards. Like, they're gonna be a complete disaster, you know? You're only gonna have a handful of plays that you can go to that won't result in that disaster we were talking about. And I saw that a lot with the Bengals last year. I think this year more of the basic setup stuff was gonna work, and I think Zach will really be able to get into that play calling groove. Now, if it don't work this year, you know, it ain't gonna work, but I think it will. I think it'll work this year. Now, because we address offensive line so heavily in free agency, and really due to the overall team building Duke Tobin has been doing over the past few seasons, we're talking about the NFL Executive of the Year, well deserved, man. Like I say, Duke Tobin over the last few years has been doing a hell of a job rebuilding the Bengals roster. And because of that, we was able to go into the draft, and we really didn't need, we didn't have pressing needs. Because sometimes, and I know all of y'all done been here with your team, if you're not a Bengals fan, you know how you just really need a certain position, but the board doesn't really fall favorably, and so you have to reach. You know what I'm saying? You end up going a crazy reach, which usually doesn't even work, meaning that player that you reach for don't come in and solve that problem. You should have just got the best player available. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the early rounds. We was able to do that this year, and we draft Michigan safety Daxton Hill in the first round. Crazy smooth athlete. Some people had this man top 15, top 20 out of all of the prospects. So to get him at 31, absolutely a steal. A versatile player, and he was absolutely the best player available since the Chiefs took Carl Loftus right before us. And he might actually be a better player than Carl Loftus. That was just a easier fit, because he's an edge. You know what I'm saying? Edge fit any time. You can't never have too many edges. But with Daxton, we already got 2 safeties, but we ran a lot of 3 safety sets, especially in the playoffs last year. And I really think our defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, wants to do way more of that. And so I really do like this pick, even though it doesn't just fit like a glove, because again, we got Jessie Bates, we got Von Bell, and we got Mike Hilton, who plays slot corner. With that said, we played Trey Flowers a ton last year once we picked him up, and we had signed Ricardo Allen to use him a ton last year as well as that 3rd safety, but I think he ended up getting hurt right at the beginning of the season. So I know they got a plan for Dax. I think he's coming in to play a very, very specific role that's gonna have a huge impact on our defense, but he's also super versatile. So if he's got to do some of these other things, then he can do that as well. Now, here's the thing I don't like about this pick, and it's not even the pick itself. It reminds me that, okay, another function for Dax Hill could be a Jessie Bates replacement. And that's because to this point, we haven't been able to sign Jessie to a long-term deal. He's currently on the franchise tag, which he was vocal about not wanting to play on last year. So the whole Jessie Bates thing is the reason that this ain't a A+ offseason for us. That's the one big thing, that and not signing or drafting highly another interior lineman, right? If we would have just got 4 brand new starters to put with Jonah Williams, A+, and sign Jessie Bates, A+, you know? Jessie Bates is only 25 years old, man. He's one of the better deep safeties in the league. He was second team All-Pro, not this past year, but the year before. Last year, he kind of had a down season, a regular season, but he showed up huge in the playoffs. And to be perfectly honest, this is not something that I, as a Bengals fan, am used to. Like, we typically do a great job of paying our own guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, contrary to the, hey, the Bengals are cheap narrative, a lot of times we've overpaid our guys. Jessie was the second round pick in 2018. He's really flourished, and I really hope we can get this deal done. If we don't, Daxton Hill is a good replacement for Jessie. Like, he was actually comped to Jessie, like, you know, maybe a better Jessie before the draft took place. But while he's a good Jessie replacement, he would be an even better Jessie Bates partner. Like a Daxton Hill, Jessie Bates secondary, like that safety duo, bro, that'll be one of the best safety duos in the league, assuming Daxton Hill lives up to, you know, what we expect based on the prospect that he was. So while we will have that this year, along with Von Bell, along with Mike Hilton, along with Chidobe Awuzie, and either Eli Apple or our second pick, who I'm going to talk about in a second, we will have that this year. I just really hope we can get Jessie locked up on a long-term deal so that he can have that ownership and take that ownership like he did last year, man. He's a big-time leader for us last year. We had 100% attendance in these voluntary workouts, and that's because Jessie stepped up and set all of that up. He's the one that pushed for that. This year, he's not even there himself. A lot of people are still there. Like, we still got a high attendance. But the fact that Jessie's not there, and it's just voluntary, it's not that big of a deal yet, but it could become a bigger deal if he decides to hold out on a contract situation, if he maybe demands a trade. Like, these are things that are possible. Now, if you're wondering why it's been tough to get this deal done, I think Locked On Bengals actually talks about this a lot. So definitely shout out to them. But Jessie Bates has the same agent as Deshaun Watson, right? Now, you're like, what does that matter? Okay, Deshaun Watson just got $200 million guaranteed coming off 20 allegations. Okay, that agent, he's known for going on his social, you know what I'm saying? He like to brag about the guaranteed money that he getting his clients. So when you look at those two things, that's probably the sticking point between Jessie and the Bengals, seeing as how that is his agent. The Bengals usually don't go crazy on guaranteed money the way they structure their contracts, but you pretty much guaranteed them first 2-3 years. You can just look at Trey Waynes, who got like $60 million or something like that, even though most of that wasn't guaranteed, and he played like 2 games in 2 years. But that's most likely the part that they're struggling with, okay? Now, the problem is the reason you can't just open up the whole bank account to overpay a safety. You want to pay, like, he deserved to get paid like a top safety, but I don't know how much he asking for, and I don't know how much they offering. So I'm just saying you got to be careful with that if you the Bengals. You can't overpay because you got Joe Burrow contract coming up, you got T. Higgins contract coming up, and y'all see the wide receiver market. And then a year later, you're going to have Jamar Chase coming up. Like, those are the most important key players. But Jessie is still up there, though. But now that we got Daxton Hill, that can serve as a little bit of insurance potentially if we can't get Jessie re-signed. But I really hope we do, because Jessie is one of my favorite players on the team, and I hope we can keep him because I want to see him and Dax Hill for more than just one season. So as you probably surmised, the Jessie Bates situation is the reason this offseason isn't an A. That's the reason I'm not giving him an A. But we still got until some point in July to get that long-term deal done. So, you know, the door's not closed on it, but right now, you know, that gotta be a mark against them. Especially if Jessie kind of feels away, like, okay, they're not giving me the long-term security that I'm looking for. Now maybe he's not fully bought in, maybe he's not taking Dax under his wing because he thinks that's his replacement. If you can get him that long-term deal, you know, so we could probably save some cap space if you structure it right. And then him and Dax can really start forming that bond, you know what I'm saying? The locker room understand it's business. But for such a close-knit locker room, the fact that we lost CJ Uzomah, who was another vocal leader, you don't want to mess up what we got in the locker room, because I think it's special. That said, I'm extremely excited about Dax Hill, just the player, man. He plays safety like I play safety on a video game. He's usually down closer to the box, kind of playing in that slot area, jumping screens, rushing a passer sometimes, you know, undercutting crossing routes, racking up hella tackles, and he's got the speed and fluidity to play deep safety, and even a little bit of outside corner if you really needed him to. That's amazing. Now with pick 60, we traded up and got Cam Taylor-Britt, a dude I drafted in every mock draft for the Bengals, so I'm happy with this one too. So Cam Taylor-Britt will play strictly outside corner for the Bengals. He gonna come in there and either push Eli Apple or take Eli Apple's starting job. We'll see how it goes, man. But I really like Cam Taylor-Britt and what he brings. Kind of his whole energy, bro. Like, he bodied like the interview process and all that stuff. Dude is really, really ready to compete. Talking about how excited he was to get in there and go against Chase and T. Higgins. And people don't be excited about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a tough ask for a rookie in practice, which you're gonna find out soon. But just how competitive he is, I went and watched, like, you know, some of the mini docs they did on him when he was at Nebraska. But I really love his personality and putting that, you know, infusing that into our locker room. Plus, he's got great size. He ran a 4.38. Him and Dax Hill both ran 4.38s. But not only are they fast, they can change directions. They're both physical, and they're both super versatile players, which I think is really going to help us against teams like Baltimore with all them tight ends. And the way I'm kind of expecting their offense to be real run heavy this year. Of course, the Browns offense is always run heavy. And of course, the Steelers got Najee Harris and a bunch of receivers. So we need versatile guys who could cover speed, who could cover size, and who could tackle. So again, Dax Hill, Cam Taylor-Britt, I love both of them picks. Now, our third, fourth, and fifth picks are just okay. I like Zachary Carter out of Florida. I do. He'll be a rotational interior pass rusher who has versatility. So I do expect him to have an immediate role, but we also had an opportunity to draft Perrion Winfrey in that spot. We choose not to, so, you know, that'll be something we monitor over the coming season and seasons. Perrion ends up going to the Browns, so, you know, who's going to be better? Are they going to be about the same? Or, you know, are we going to realize this was a mistake? That remains to be seen, but I saw like some advanced stats and stuff like that had Zachary really, really high, way ahead of Perrion Winfrey and, you know, certain percentages, pressure percentages, stuff like that. So that's basically a big we'll see for me. Now, we also got a guard out of North Dakota State. Actually played right and left tackle in college, but he's going to play guard in the league. For a fourth round pick, this one is kind of the same. Like, it's one of those wait and sees for me, because a fourth round pick, even though we picking at the back of the round, so it's kind of like a fifth round pick. So when you think about it like that, it's a little different. But if I'm judging off the strength of a fourth round pick, man, if he don't come in and at least challenge, because that spot is vacant. If he doesn't challenge to start at that left guard spot, I'm gonna feel like it was a bad pick, at least right off top. You know, maybe he develops later, and, you know, you never know. But in the near future, if he ain't challenging Jackson Carman to start at left guard, you know, I'm gonna feel like it was a bad pick. Then we took another safety in the fifth, 4.36 guy, 200 pounds. I like that, but again, how many safeties do we really need? So this kind of seemed like one of those redundant picks. I know dude was great on special teams, but you need special teams players. You know, to get him in the fifth round, basically the sixth, is not bad. And maybe he turns into more than that, because, again, not only is Jessie Bates playing on the franchise tag, this is Von Bell's last year, his contract as well. So maybe these are future starters and just insurance if we can't re-sign our safety duo that we currently have. But so not a flashy pick, but it is a smart one. I see the logic and I'm cool with it. Yeah, but his name is Tyson Anderson. Seems like a pretty solid safety. We'll see how the Bengals use him. Now we got Jeff Gunter in the seventh, and this is just a good value pick. As I was watching the draft, I honestly did feel this was a good pick, but I was still upset. And the reason is because Justin Ross was just sitting right there, about to go undrafted. I actually recently did a video on him. You should check it out. A lot of people were feeling it. It was on trending for a few days. In that video, I go through kind of the injury history and stuff like that, so I'm fully aware. But I just felt like, why not take a chance on spending something as, let's say, affordable as a 7th round pick on a guy who had 1st round potential just a couple years ago. Not to mention he's boys with T. Higgins, our other star receiver. It was a perfect fit. So that was my only issue with the pick. But as far as Gunter himself, you can never have too much pass rush, and we definitely lacked depth in that department last year. Like at the end of the season, man, AFC Championship game, stuff like that, I remember Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard being dog tired. They they some dogs themselves, so they were still going, but you know, it'll be nice to have people who can go in and give them a breather and still generate some kind of a pass rush. So I actually like that pick a lot. I mean, for a 7th-round pick to potentially come in and get snaps in year 1, that's gonna be huge if that happens, and I think it's got a pretty good chance to. Now, also, our 3rd-round pick from last year, Joseph Osai, I guess I gotta kind of count that, maybe, I guess, because he didn't play at all last year. So it's like an additional 3rd-round pick. He played in the preseason and he looked really good. So again, I think at worst, he's another rotational piece that'll be good for us coming off the edge. Oh, damn. Actually, I gotta change my grade. I gotta change my grade right here. Hold on. So this actually kind of slipped my mind, but I'm gonna have to take that B+, and I'm gonna have to change it. I'm gonna have to change it, bro. I'm gonna change it to an A-. All right, we're going from B+ to A- because I still worry about team chemistry with the Jessie Bates situation, you know, in addition to losing CJ Uzomah. I think Hayden Hurst is probably a better player for what we want to do, but just the leadership and like the locker room presence that Uzomah was, that's tough. And then the leadership and the locker room presence that Jessie Bates is, now he don't have a contract. You know, how does that manifest itself in the locker room? We're gonna see. But the Bengals did get okayed for a temporary indoor practice facility. I'm assuming this will be a stopgap situation until they can get a permanent practice facility, but this is still huge. The Bengals notoriously have been one of the only teams in the entire league to not have an indoor facility. And after making it all the way to the Super Bowl, they finally got the city to approve a temporary practice bubble that's going to be going up that they're going to be using this year. Like, that right there is Joe Burrow in full effect. Like, I think I actually predicted that this is what was going to happen, or one of the things that could happen. So that right there is actually kind of a big deal. So I got to move the grade from a B+ to an A-. So boom, overall, man, really, really good offseason for the Bengals, man. I'm actually very happy with what we were able to do. But just based on reasonable improvement, I think they did almost everything they could do. And if they re-sign Jessie before the deadline in July, you know, we'll go up to an A+. With that said, the rest of the league has gotten better as well. Like, everybody kind of saw the Bengals make it to the Super Bowl, and they was like, hold on, man. Everybody in the AFC just making crazy moves. They're mortgaging their futures. You know, everybody trying to win now. So it's an arms race for talent. It's going to be a very fun year, very competitive NFL season that we got coming up, man. And hopefully my Bengals are able to rise to the challenge. But that's all I got for y'all in this one, bro. I'm going to holler at you next time, man. Peace.